This is the third video for the C++ tutorial. In this video we will be cleaning up the code a little bit and putting some excessive and repetitive code into separate functions. The first function we're going to create is our yes/no function. To start, what we will do is declare our functions at the top of the program. Declaring your functions at the top makes it easier to organize your different functions, and even put them into separate CPP files. Our first one will be char yes/no function, and declaring it as simple as that. We're going to take this and go to the bottom of our program. Make sure you're outside of your main function. Type out the function name and add your curly braces. Now all we have to do is go back into main, highlight the text that we're going to put in, which is all of this here. Cut and paste. Now in our new function, our variable yes/no is underlined, because as it is now, it's undefined. So we'll have to redefine it. And at the bottom of our function, we need to return it back to the main function. Now that it's out of our main function, it won't do anything unless we call our function. To do so, what we'll do is we'll set the variable that we want it to be, which is yes/no, equals to yes/no function. And now we will debug it to make sure it's working. So far, so good. And here we have it. Do you wish to run the program again? Y or N, and press N, and it works. Now here we have the getCh commented out. We haven't used that in a while, so we can just go ahead and delete that out of there. Next, we're going to create a function that will take care of our x and y input. Here I'm sure you've noticed that we have a lot of repeating code. Creating a new function will eliminate any repeating code. So first what we'll do is we'll declare another function. This will be a float for our x and y, and we'll call it get number. And we'll go back down to the bottom, make sure we're outside of any other functions, including main, and create our new function. All we'll have to do is go back into main, and we'll take these lines here. Now we're not going to take this first line here because we're going to be using it multiple times. We're not entering a first number more than once. So we'll take this out, bring it down here, and again we have our x variable underlined in red. All we'll have to do is redeclare it in here, and of course we're going to need to return our variable back into main. Now to call the function, all we'll have to do is under here we'll set x equal to get number. But now we still have all this extra code. All we have to simply do is just delete that, and we'll set y equal to get number. Now we will test it, see if everything works. Here we have enter the first number, 2, enter the second number, 4. Here we have it, 2 and 4 were returned, sum is 6, etc., etc. So that works. And for our last function, we will be taking our output out from in the main function. Now to do this, we're going to have to send some variables into the function. So the setup is going to be a little bit different. Now it doesn't have to actually return anything, so this will be a void function, and we'll call it print. Now we're going to have to send some variables into this function, so we're going to make a bunch of floats. We're going to actually make 4, which will end up being our add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So at this point it doesn't matter what we name them, so we will call them float A, float B, C, and D. Now we'll copy this, go down to the bottom, make sure we're again out of any other functions, add our curly braces, and we'll go back into main function and take all of this. And we'll take that out, bring that down into here, and here again we see that we have the red underlines. To fix this, all we have to do is we're going to rename them as these. So add will be A, subtract will be B, multiple will be C, divide will be D. Now to call our function, we have to go back into main. This is where we had it. And we simply type print now inside here we have to enter what variables we want to send over, which are add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now we have to make sure we do them in the correct order, because down here we have A as add, B subtract, C will be here for multiplied, and D down here for divide. So we simply, inside these parentheses, enter the variable names. Add, subtract, mult, and divide. Then we will test it, see if it works. Enter our first number, 2, 4, and it works. Now we'll take a quick look through and see what code that we don't need. As we go through, we'll also make a few comments here and there, so when we need to reuse code, we know exactly what it does. Up to the top, we're no longer using any strings, so we can go ahead and get rid of that. Let's scroll down. Put some spacing in here so that we know that's input for X, input for Y. And now this is unnecessary. We don't need to arbitrarily output any variables because we know the code works. So we'll delete all that. It's our math stuff. This is where we print yes, no, and it looks good to me. And there we have it. We have a nice looking working program that uses all sorts of interesting things from C++. This is the final video. I hope you learned something and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.